hoping that this video doesn't get blocked 18 times the way Disney keeps blocking my Atlanta video. Everything Everywhere All at Once hit American theaters a year ago by the time this video goes up. And a few weeks ago, it absolutely demolished at the Oscars, winning all big awards except lead actor, which went to Brendan Fraser in a different A24 movie. This movie is really good, great even, one of my favorites ever, and certainly my favorite of 2022. I cried a whole lot in the now 6 times I've seen it. Broken down to its basics, the movie is about a woman trying to save the multiverse by gaining the abilities and experiences of other versions of herself. But it's so much more than that. The movie is about mental health, love, sexuality, generational trauma, fucking bagels, insecurity, social media, really, the list goes on and on. It's like the movie is about everything happening everywhere, all through time, but all at... Yeah, that makes sense. So, while I would love to talk about everything this movie has to offer, I can't. I wouldn't even know where to start. If I want to talk about this, I need to narrow it down a bit. And I want to discuss the way Everything Everywhere All at Once approaches absurdism as a response to nihilism. What's really absurd is that you haven't subscribed yet. Please, consider doing so. It's really appreciated. Also, I'll be going into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, you should. It's really amazing. Nihilism is the philosophical school of thought which proposes that, as nothing has true meaning, all fundamental elements and values of life are baseless. Essentially, nothing matters, so why treat anything like it does? For this reason, nihilism is often tied to extreme views of pessimism. As nothing matters, many true nihilists don't care for anything outside of maybe destruction, as this is the only thing that can make sense in a world where there's no point behind anything we do. In Everything Everywhere All at Once, nihilism is introduced by Joy, or Jobu Tupaki, who has achieved multiversal awareness. Having experienced literally everything the multiverse has to offer, Jobu Tupaki has come to the conclusion that nothing matters. There's no greater purpose we all serve, and there's no singular action that will cause everything to make sense, that will make all the wrongs feel like they were somehow right. If I were to die tomorrow, the world keeps on without me. If the world were to blow up tomorrow, the rest of the solar system continues. If the sun were to implode, the galaxy is still much larger. The galaxy is just one of many in a much bigger universe that doesn't care for it, and that universe exists in an infinite multiverse, where it too doesn't matter. Jobu Tupaki is painfully aware that, at the end of the day, nothing we do makes that big a difference. She desperately needs it to. Because while the movie is about the multiverse on a larger scale, it's really about feeling hopeless on a personal scale.
I have something to say to you.
What?
You have to try and eat healthier. You are getting fat.
Joy, outside of her powers, outside of the multiverse, outside of Jobu Tupaki, is experiencing nihilism on the scale of her own life. A life where she feels she's not achieved enough, where her mom seems unaccepting of her sexuality, where her family is falling apart, where she feels as though no matter what she does, nothing will ever be enough. A life in which only brief moments feel right, and those brief moments are surrounded by helplessness. Nothing will make sense of all the pain she feels, and the more she tries to find the greater meaning, the more she understands there isn't one. It's driving her to suicide. She desperately hopes that her mom, the person she has the most fractured but personal relationship with, can help her find the meaning she needs. The multiverse functions as a way for her, and eventually for Evelyn, to think about everything they could have been, everything they aren't. The thoughts of how we might be so much happier if we made this decision instead, or if we stumbled upon these circumstances. The glimpses into the lives of others that we get through social media that make us wish we were anyone but ourselves, because we aren't living up to everyone else. The hope that if things were different, then we'd be able to make sense of it. They slowly come to realize that while these existences may seem appealing, they too lack a greater meaning. Nothing we do will make a grand change on a cosmic scale. Evelyn becomes reminded of the disappointment she is in her father's eyes, the same way Joy is reminded of the disappointment she is to Evelyn. Her hope that her mother could save her is cut. Returning to what I said about nihilism, the everything bagel is originally believed to represent that desire for destruction. The Alpha Universe believes that Jobu Tupaki wants to destroy the multiverse, as none of it has any deeper meaning. The idea of an everything bagel doing this works particularly well with nihilism, as it really inspects everything to find some form of significance, and simply results in a whole lot of destruction. The bagel is nothing and everything simultaneously, as even with everything on it, it still doesn't mean anything greater. Joy reveals to Evelyn that this isn't there to destroy the multiverse. It's there to destroy her. Again, bring this down to a personal level. Joy, knowing that her mom now understands her, tells Evelyn that life has no meaning, and so she doesn't want to pursue it any further. The bagel is a device for suicide. She can no longer live with the pain of feeling like she will never be good enough for her mom, for everyone else, but mostly for herself. The only solution she can find is to take her life. Feeling many of the same emotions as her daughter, Evelyn doesn't really have an argument against this. She too has reached a point of nihilism by trying to find a greater meaning in literally everything. She too has compared herself to everyone around her and everyone she wishes she could have been. She too feels as though there's nothing she can do to stop her family from falling apart. She too feels as though there may be no point in living anymore. As much as she wants to save her daughter, she doesn't even know if she can save herself.
You know why I actually built the bagel? It wasn't to destroy everything. It was to destroy myself. I wanted to see if I went in, could I finally escape? Like actually die. At least this way. I don't have to do it alone.
Much like nihilism, absurdism is a philosophical theory, sometimes considered a branch of existentialism, which believes that there is no greater meaning to the universe. It states that the human desire to rationalize everything is ultimately absurd in an irrational universe. Hence, absurdism. According to the school of thought, there are three traditional responses to the meaninglessness of the universe. The first is suicide. After all, if life has no meaning, then why live at all? This is the response that Joy and Evelyn are moving towards as they face nihilism, though most absurdists find this response unsatisfactory. After all, it's not really solving the issue in any way. It's just running from it. Death has as little meaning as life. The second proposed response is faith, or belief. In a lot of ways, we could view the Alpha universe as driven by this. They believe in a greater order that needs to be maintained in the multiverse in order for it to make sense. But this response is also unsatisfactory to many philosophers, as it is a pursuit for escape instead of a confrontation of the notion. Again, to choose to ignore the notion that there is no greater meaning to life does not ultimately give it meaning. In fact, Albert Camus, who is often considered the father of absurdism, calls this philosophical suicide, though I think that's a bit extreme. The third answer is therefore the one we must live by. We must accept the absurd nature of human existence. Instead of trying to escape meaninglessness, we fight it. We should live life to the fullest and make the most of every moment we can. If nothing matters in the grand scheme of things, then our conscious decision to pursue as much as we can and create our own path should not matter either. However, in doing so, we maximize our life for ourselves. We are therefore embracing the absurd by acknowledging that nothing means anything. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't matter to us on an individual scale. Life should not be dictated by a pursuit for objective meaning. Instead, it becomes enjoyable due to its lack of objective meaning. This allows us to give subjective meaning as we see fit. Enter Wayman.
The only thing I do know is that we have to be kind. Please, be kind. Especially when we don't know what's going on.
Compared to Evelyn and Joy, Wayman doesn't come off as cynical. In fact, he comes off as a bit goofy? That's not really the right word, but the movie does make something of an effort to make him seem that way at first. He seems overly positive, often choosing kindness over assertion and doing small things to make the world seem more positive. He tries to please people as much as he can, and he doesn't like opposition much. Evelyn views him as naive, or even stupid. She thinks he is ignorant to the harsh reality they live in, as if he were aware of how truly awful it was, he wouldn't do these stupid things like put googly eyes on everything to get a chuckle out of people. But that's the thing. He does understand. In fact, he understands her. In that scene everyone always puts on TikTok, the scene where he tells her, "In another life, I would have really liked just doing laundry and taxes with you." He tells her something before this. He says that he knows she views herself as a fighter, but he sees himself as one too. He just doesn't fight the same way she does. This is the way he fights. In the face of nihilism, Wayman doesn't choose the first response provided by absurdism. He doesn't let himself be consumed entirely by this feeling that nothing has meaning and so nothing matters. He's aware nothing has greater meaning, but he refuses to let that mean nothing matters to him. After all, it still matters here, right now, to the people who are there. So, he chooses kindness. He chooses to approach life as positively as he can because he knows that everyone else is probably going through many of the same things he is. Instead of continuing to push that feeling in them that nothing matters, he'd rather they feel as though things do matter, even for just a moment, because we affect each other. In a multiverse where nothing means anything and the situation seems to get worse and worse, Wayman can find meaning and happiness to doing laundry and taxes with the people he loves, despite knowing that the rest of the multiverse doesn't care. Not only does he choose this third response for himself, but as much as he can, he proposes it to others through his actions, through his kindness. As the movie concludes, it wasn't the knowledge of the multiverse that saved Evelyn and Joy. Nor was it their infinite abilities. It was the fact that Wayman was able to convince Evelyn to go with this third response to nihilism. And she was then able to show everyone else that a lack of greater meaning does not equate a lack of beauty and love these moments may have. Even in a universe where we have fucking hot dogs for fingers, we get really good at using our feet. And isn't that beautiful? These universes being absurd, in the more weird use of the term, is the perfect metaphor for this, as each of these universes still has something to offer Evelyn, whether it be an ability or a truth about herself. She comes to recognize the absurdist response to nihilism and starts to realize the meaning that every single one of these absurd realities may have, sharing the beauty with those who have grown jaded to it. And this leads to this moment between Evelyn and Joy.
Stop! Mom! Just stop! Good for you. You're figuring your shit out. That's great. I'm really, really happy for you. But I'm tired. I don't want to hurt anymore, and for some reason, when I'm with you, it just hurts the both of us. So let's just go our separate ways, okay? Just let me go.
Okay. Wait. You are getting fat. And you never call me, even though we have a family plan. And it's free. You only visit when you need something. You got a tattoo, and I don't care if it's supposed to represent our family. You know I hate tattoos. And of all the places I could be, why would I want to be here with you? Yes, you're right. It doesn't make sense.
Evelyn, 别说了，够了。
Let her finish.
Maybe it's like you said. Maybe there is something out there, some new discovery that will make us feel like even small pieces of shit. Something that explains why you still went looking for me through all of this noise. And why? No matter what, I still want to be here with you. I will always want to be here with you.
So what? You're just gonna ignore everything else? You could be anything, anywhere. Why not go somewhere where your daughter is more than just this? Here, all we get are a few specks of time where any of this actually makes any sense.
Then I will cherish these few specks of time.
Though the feelings of helplessness, solitude, and pain persist, and sometimes even overwhelm, Joy and Evelyn are able to find meaning, to care, for the brief time they have together. After all, if Joy really felt as though there was no meaning to any of it, even on a personal level, she would not have tried so hard to make her mom understand, to have her mom save her. Ultimately, it is convincing her that these moments can matter that allows Evelyn to save her daughter. So what if it doesn't matter to the greater cosmos? It matters to us. Everything Everywhere All at Once paints an honest picture of modern nihilism. As Jobu Tupaki observes a world where she feels inadequate, where she feels as though no action she can take will truly mean anything, and where she feels herself seeing less and less of a reason to keep going. Instead of trying to convince us we actually can be part of something greater, or that there is an objective meaning to our existence, the movie uses its multiversal framing to bring our focus onto the personal scale, forcing us to acknowledge how our actions matter to us and those around us. It proposes that the correct answer to nihilism is the third absurdist response. Accept the absurd and find your own meaning instead of looking for a greater one. With the character of Wayman, the movie succeeds in doing so. In a Letterboxd review one of my friends left for the movie, I think he described this perfectly. He called it a gorgeous movie where nothing makes sense, but everything has meaning at the same time. Though some may believe the movie's absurdity comes from its weirder concepts, this line is what is truly absurd about this movie. Thank you so much for watching. My friend's Letterboxd will be in the description, so please go show him some love. And if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. It would really mean a lot. Anyways, if there's any show or movie you recommend, please do. Who knows? I might make a video about it.